This is a real quick lesson on 3.3a, which again is just mainly something that you can participate in, at least mentally, so you can understand the concept. If you're given a graph like this, the key thing you need to remember is that this is the x-axis. Now keep in mind, for your test, this will not be labeled, so you need to memorize that this is your x-axis. If you were asked for the x-intercept of the graph, you just pretty much look where it touches the x-axis, which if I'm following this x-axis, it touches here at the value of -3. So your x-intercept, which is just where it crosses the x-axis, is -3. Same thing, similarly, if you're looking at the y-axis, which is this one right here, if you're asked for the y-intercept, then of course you're going to look on the y-axis for where it touches the graph, which of course is here at 2. So again, it's a very simple concept, very quick. Just make sure again that you're trying to understand it. So if you're asked to identify the x-intercepts of this graph, you simply follow the x-axis and recognize it crosses at -1, and it also crosses at -4. And because we're talking about the x-intercept, we're talking about x equals -4 and x equals -1. On the other side of that, if you're looking for the y-intercepts, again, you're going to focus on the y-axis and look for where it touches. It only touches at one spot, which is at y, because we're on the y-axis, equals 1. Doesn't matter how many times it touches the axis, you just need to go ahead and find it out and list it. So again, if you're looking for x-intercepts, on this graph, you scan on your x-axis, see that it touches at -1. That's x equals -1. It also touches at x equals 3. And again, if you're looking for y-intercepts, you scan the y-axis. Here is a point at 2, which is y equals 2, and y equals -1. So again, those are your main things that you're doing on that. So take a second and on your own, pause the video for a second to see if you can figure out the x and y intercepts of this graph, both of them, the x and y intercepts. If you thought about it, then you should have said pretty much that the x-intercept should be -4 because it crosses the x-axis at -4. The y-intercept, which is on the y-axis, crosses at -6. And again, that's the thing that you're looking for. X-axis should be an x equals, y-intercept should be, x-intercept should be an x equals answer. Y-intercept should be a y equals answer. Again, pause the video real quick, see if you can identify your x and y intercepts. If you're looking for x-intercepts, the first one that you see if you're scanning on the x-axis is -2. The other one that you see is also +2. For your y-intercepts, again, if you're scanning, the only spot it touches is at -3. Pause your video, see if you can figure out your x and y intercepts here. All right, what you're looking at here is that on your x-intercept, it crosses at 0 because it crosses between -1 and 1. But also, because this is a tricky problem, it also crosses on the y-axis between -1 and 1, which is also 0. This is probably the trickiest one out of all of them, just because it doesn't seem like it actually does anything. It just kind of crosses up the same number, and you want to think that it's the same thing. And then one more, pause the video real quick and see if you can identify the x and y intercepts. On the x-intercept, starting from here, the first place it touches is at -1. That's x equals -1. The other spot it touches is at 5, which is at x equals 5. In terms of your y-intercepts, the first place it touches, or one of the places it touches, is at y equals 2. And the other spot that it makes contact is at y equals -2. So if you keep in mind, remember that the majority of lessons of this semester are based mostly on common sense and communication. What you're trying to do is work to understand the concept, how it works, and then practice communicating your answers the proper way. The issue that some of you have is that you're not communicating your answers right because you're trying to do things your way, and then you end up missing a lot of points just because you're being stubborn. But remember that you're getting a chance to practice your communication whenever you're working things out. So there is no worksheet for you, but you might just want to work this out just to see if you can do it. I will put these in front of you and then go over them after I go through all the slides. So if you have a piece of paper, get a piece of paper out and answer these things on a piece of paper and then see how you did. But pause the video in between each slide as I kind of go through. I'll just count to 5. So again, pause the video, answer the questions, then I'll move to the next slide. X-intercept. If you're looking for your X-intercept, again, you're looking on the X-axis. It's not labeled, but it's this line right here, and it crosses at 1, X equals 2. Again, your X-intercept should be in X equals. Make sure you know that. Your Y-intercept crosses here, and that is at Y equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it's not going to be labeled with numbers. It's not going to be labeled with anything. It's just going to be this kind of grid, and you need to make sure you can identify it. In terms of completing the table, don't forget this is telling me to plug 0 in for X. So all I do is take this thing and copy it, except turn X into a 0. Don't forget that 12 times 0 goes away, leaving me 10y equals 60. I then divide by 10 on both sides to get y equals 6, which means whatever answer you got here should have been what you got for number 3, which would have been C. I'm sorry, would have been F. The other thing I wanted you to do is plug 0 in for y, so you do that. 12x plus 10 times 0 equals 60. 10 times 0 goes away, leaving me just 12x equals 60. And then, of course, you divide by 12 to get x equals 5. And there you go. So that would have been your answer for number 4. Or if you just did the table, that's what it should look like. Again, taking 0, plugging it into x, so 20 times 0 plus 16y equals 80. 20 times 0, because it is 0, goes away. Don't bring down 0, just pretty much make it disappear. Then you divide both sides by 16, and 80 divided by 16 is 5, which is what you should have got here. Second thing I'm doing is plugging in 0 for y, so 20x plus 16 times 0 equals 80. 16 times 0 goes away. Again, make it go away, don't bring down a 0. 20x therefore equals 80, and when you divide 80 by 20, you end up with the answer of 4. And then the last table, plugging in 0 for x, which is something you should be used to at this point. 2 times 0 plus y, 2 times 0 goes away. Y is equal to 8. That's your first answer. It just sets up to be an easy problem in terms of that first one. Second thing we're going to do is take 4 and plug it in for y. So you'd put 2x plus 4 equals 8. Subtract your 4. Divide by 2. X is equal to 2. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not doing the solving, it's because solving was last semester. So if you're having an issue with solving, you got to talk to me and let me know. Because, again, I'm not going to take a lot of time doing the solving when it's kind of something I think you should understand. Again, you subtract 4 from both sides, divide both sides by 2. On this one here, 0 goes in for y, so 2x plus 0 equals 8. 0, of course, goes away. Divide by 2, and you get 4, which goes there. And the last thing you do is put the 1 in for x, which goes there. 2 times 1 plus y equals 8. 2 times 1 turns into 2. And again, if you want to get rid of 2 that's being added, it's a positive 2. You subtract 2 from both sides, getting y equals 6. So just kind of keep all that in mind and make sure that you're trying to understand, especially that y-intercept stuff, that x and y-intercept stuff that we just did. The rest of it was review. It's stuff that you'll need for the test. So just make sure that you're figuring that out, because your test is next Friday. Today is January 30th. So again, it's next Friday that you'll be having that test. So just make sure you're getting ready for it. Otherwise, again, you're going to set yourself up for a bad spot. So just be careful. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later.